Peace and light, you guys. I had to come back on here tonight because since the other live stream earlier today, um, it just wasn't sitting well with me. And I started to ponder on all of the things that were mentioned in the excerpt that I read earlier. And spirit just didn't sit right with my spirit. And I know this is like so on the spot, so I don't see anybody in. Oh, I see one person coming in, but this was, I mean, it's just, it didn't sit right with me. I knew that something was not right. It was not right. So I'm going to go ahead and it's so funny because as I continue to feel like something was not right, um, more information is coming available. When I tell you that spirit is working, the universe is working, source is working, you know, for, you know, to get justice for Shanquella. I mean, it's just so apparent and is so beautiful, you know, to watch and witness and see and be a part of. So as I mentioned, something did not sit right with those details. Someone in my comment section earlier mentioned about corruption, about payoffs and all of that. And I said, you know what? It's possible and I hope not, right? But what I read, it just didn't make sense and it conflicted with the death certificate. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read this. And then we're going to go over exactly what Shanquilla experienced as, you know, in her final moments. Okay. I'm going to explain her injury and what the symptoms are. Okay. So that we can understand exactly what happened. But let's go ahead and read this. Now, earlier I read, you know, like I said, some excerpts obtained by the Charlotte Herald. And there is a reporter there by the name of Gerardo, I think Nzinga. Let me get it correctly. Let me get his name correct. Okay. Hold on one second. Yeah, Gerardo Zuniga. Okay. Hopefully Zuniga. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly. Okay. But let me share my screen. If you can hear me and see me well, put a number 9 in the chat. If you can hear me and see me well, put a number 9 in the chat. So hold on. I mean, will not see me, but if you can hear me well, okay, because I'm not on screen for this one. But you see the picture, right? Okay, great. Okay, so let me go ahead and share. Share screen. This is absolutely ridiculous what's going on. This is crazy. Okay, you guys, so here you see FBI opens investigation into the femicide of Quilla. They didn't even put her full name, Quilla Robinson in Los Cabos. Okay, so I'm gonna read through this, okay? San Jose del Cabo in Baja California Sur, a group of agents from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, known by its acronym, okay, FBI, from the field office in Charlotte, North Carolina, arrived this weekend in this municipal seat of Los Capes. Okay. The United States federal agents are investigating the mystery surrounding the violent femicide of the young Shanquella Brenda Robinson, affectionately known as Quilla, which occurred since last October 29, inside a room located at 32 Villa Linda Street in the Cabo villas tourist complex owned by the Puerto Los Cabos development. The murder of the 25-year-old girl attracted the attention of the U.S. government after the family of the victim, originally from Charlotte, North Carolina, exposed their disagreement with the contradictory information between the medical opinion and the autopsy of her death. Okay. Originally, the government of Mexico, after delivering the body of Shanquella Robinson, reported that he had died, or that she had died of alcohol poisoning. However, the death certificate determined that the young woman had died from a severe spinal cord injury and dislocation of the atlas. The atlas is the first bone, you guys, in your vertebrae. So it's a C1. Okay. So that is a break in the first two, in the first two neck vertebrae. The FBI investigation practically began after a viral video was released where you can see how and in what way the young American was allegedly attacked by her friend, Dejanay Jackson, a transgender. Now, this is what they're reporting that she is, okay? Inside the room of the tourist complex, which would, I guess that's why, that's why they are treating this as a femicide, because they have her listed as transgender, or him, I don't know. The attack would have been filmed by another of his friends, identified as Khalil. I think they meant by another of her friends, identified as Khalil Cook, where the 25-year-old girl can be heard mockingly, Quilla, you can at least defend yourself. It was never a fight. She did not fight, refuted the mother of the victim, Salamandra Robinson, assuring that she was attacked. Okay. One day before she was murdered, the young woman from Charlotte had arrived in Los Cabos on vacation, accompanied by a group of 6 friends, for which she was happy. I looked at some pictures of her post and she was really having a good time. And I don't know when it all started to go wrong, her mother recounted. Shanquella Robinson's traveling companions called her mother to inform her that she was not feeling well and had alcohol poisoning. The people who were with her told different stories, said the mother, explaining that later they called again only to report that her daughter had died. The friends managed to leave Mexico, after not being arrested by the Los Cabos municipal police in an act of evident impunity after the death of the young woman, and it seems that they had disappeared from the face of the earth. Okay. They all lied and no longer responded to messages and calls from the victim's mother or her relatives. The young woman murdered in 2019 had graduated from Winston-Salem State University. She was a children's. Okay, so this doesn't make sense. The murdered in 2019, that's a typo. Okay, but they're just talking about, her career and as being a hairstylist. It's naming the names, okay, of all of the people that were identified accompanying her at the villa. And then here it says the other investigation. Regardless of the fact that the FBI managed to find out that the transgender Dejanay Jackson is the person who would have attacked and killed Shanquella Robinson, and Khalil Cook, who recorded the video that went viral, is also investigating the omission and negligence of the authorities for the whole series of contradictions in the case. So it is clear that they will exert pressure on the government of Mexico and the government of Baja California Sur to determine the responsibilities of the other people who would not have done their job well. The people under investigation are Carolina Beatriz, the doctor at the American Medical Center AMC Clinic, Los Cabos Municipal Police Officers Omar and David, the agent of the public ministry of the PGJE, Julio Daniel. They all lied. They all lied. The death of the young, I'm so angry. Let me get myself together. The death of the young American, according to a copy of the police report, was reported 3 hours after the femicide, around 6 p.m. on October 9th. I will read it again. The death of the young American, according to a copy of a police report, was reported 3 hours after the femicide, around 6 p.m., making the 3 p.m. death accurate. That's on her death certificate. Okay. When the agents of the Los Cabos Municipal Police arrived, the first responders, Omar and David, aboard the DS 777 patrol car, were received by the doctor from the American Medical Center, Carolina Beatriz, reporting that at 2:13 p.m., they had requested the consultation service for the young Shanquella Brenda Robinson, commenting that they had reported that the victim had drunk a lot of alcohol and they intended to channel her with IV. The doctor, as revealed, arrived an hour after receiving the report around 3:15 p.m., where she said a female person was found. She had a poor verbal response in a drunken state with stable vital signs and dehydrated, the doctor explained to the police, for which she advised her friends to transfer her to the clinic. However, the friends refused and requested that she be treated on site. Therefore, according to the doctor, she proceeded to channel without success. So that at 4:20 p.m., she presented a generalized tonic-clonic seizure that lasted less than a minute with sphincter relaxation, in such way that the friend of the alleged aggressor, identified as Winter Essex, Donovan, dialed 911 requesting an ambulance, for which in the process, Shanquella Robinson presented respiratory difficulties and decreased pulse. The situation forced the doctor to give rescue breaths. However, around 4:49 p.m., according to the doctor's version, she stopped feeling her pulse and started CPR with the help of one of her friends until the ambulance arrived, and they continued with the sessions of CPR. In summary, according to the doctor, they performed a total of 14 CPR sessions, applying 5 doses of adrenaline and 6 shocks without success. but she had no pulmonary reflexes. Dr. Carolina Beatriz declared the young American clinically dead at 5:57 p.m. Subsequently, at 6:35 p.m., the first responders proceeded to make a telephone link through the C2 to the agent of the public ministry of the PGJG, Julio Daniel, recounting the facts of which he instructs the filing of the forms, corresponding records, and wait for the arrival of the ministerial police. Of course, the version of the doctor from the American Medical Center Clinic is contradictory with the information on the death certificate, stating that the time between injury and death was 15 minutes. However, the doctor at the private clinic, according to her version in the police report, the victim died 2 hours and 45 minutes after having first contact with the victim. Today, it is known that all of them allegedly lied to protect the image and reputation of the Cabo Villas complex, Puerto Los Cabos. This is absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting, you guys. Absolutely disgusting. And we're not going to stand for it. And it's important that we all understand what Shanquella was going through at the time. Let's get into it. Let me share. Okay. I'm going to share a tab. Okay. So I'm going to try to go through this, okay, fairly quickly. But it's important that we understand what she suffered, how she suffered. Okay, so it's reported that she had, what was it, Atlas? Hold on one second, you guys. I want to get the proper Atlas luxation. Okay. Okay. So it's reported that on her death certificate that she suffered from Atlas luxation. Okay. So and a severed spine. So the C1 and C2 vertebrae are the first two segments in the cervical spine. These two levels of the spinal column are especially important due to their location and functions. A C1 through C2 vertebrae injury is considered to be the most severe of all spinal cord injuries, as it can lead to full paralysis, but is most often fatal. This is how severe her injuries were, that it's most often fatal. Okay. The C1 spinal vertebrae, C1 vertebrae is the first of 7 vertebrae in the cervical region. It is connected to the head and leads into the C2 vertebrae. Okay, C2 spinal vertebrae. The C2 spinal vertebrae is the second of the 7 cervical vertebrae and follows the C1 vertebrae as the first 2 segments in the cervical spine. The C1 and C2 vertebrae support the head. Okay, the C1 vertebrae is also known as Atlas, which is why it is mentioned on the death certificate, with the C2 vertebrae named the axis, while the C1 atlas vertebrae is named after the Greek Titan who supported the weight of the world in myth. The C2 axis vertebrae is labeled because of its purpose of motion. The atlas vertebrae pivots on the axis vertebrae, which allows the head to rotate. The C1 and C2 vertebrae are also responsible for allowing the head to rotate and swivel, since the atlas C1, let me plug it in really quickly. Excuse me, you guys. Since the atlas C1 is directly attached into the skull and pivots from the C2 axis. Okay, so we'll go to the bottom. Okay. So some of the causes of the spinal cord is C1, C2, neck, spinal cord injury, of course, trauma. And that is what she suffered. I won't go through the rest because we know that she suffered trauma. We all had to witness it, unfortunately. Okay. Now, this is important. Patients that survive a C1 through C2 vertebrae injury will likely have the following symptoms: the inability to breathe without assistance from a ventilator, inability or reduced ability to speak, loss or feeling of sensation below the level of injury, paralysis in the arms, hands, trunk, and legs, limited neck and or head movement. Okay, so this is why Shanquella went into cardiac arrest when she couldn't breathe. Her vitals began to drop. There was no pulse. Okay, because of these severe injuries, which I read earlier, are fatal. They are most often fatal. This is why she transitioned so quickly. This is why right here you can see we need to be believing what's on that death certificate. That the coroner, whoever performed the examination, who wrote the report, it makes sense now that we have the context of what happens when you have such a severe injury to your C1 and C2 vertebrae. This is why she transitioned so quickly, and this is why she went into cardiac arrest and seizuring, and this is why the time that is recorded on the death certificate is correct. It says that at 3 p.m. she passed away, and the doctors have, or the coroner, the people that perform the autopsy, they have strict procedures as to what they follow and how they can determine when exactly someone passed away. Okay, the body temperature changes. Okay, the blood, where it pools, that's another way that they can tell. They can tell and when the heart stopped, when the last breath was taken. Okay, so I am absolutely inclined to believe that death certificate. Also, none of these things which I read earlier were mentioned at all. We didn't know anything about it. It wasn't on their certificate, and it definitely didn't say alcohol poisoning. It did not say alcohol poisoning. So she died as a result of a severe injury to her C1, C2 vertebrae, which coincides with the story of the second video that says that Winter Donovan allegedly took her by her neck and slammed her down on the ground, which Shanquella did not move after that. Why didn't Shanquella move after that? Because patients that survive a C1 through C2 vertebrae injury will likely have the following symptoms: inability to breathe without assistance from the ventilator, inability or reduced ability to speak, loss of feeling or sensation below the level of the injury. And since it was up in her upper neck area, she could not move anything, her arms, her legs, none of that, which means that if she slammed down on the floor, that there was no way that she would be able to pick herself up. Someone had to pick her up from that position. Okay. And limited neck and or head movement. All right. So there we have it. There we have it, you guys. There we have it. This is appalling. This is so appalling. And I'm happy to hear that those people are under investigation, but they need to be brought, justice needs to be served there. They need to be prosecuted. They need to be prosecuted for falsifying a police report. They need to be prosecuted. This is unacceptable. So first she gets beat up, brutalized, jumped. And now we have people trying to hinder the justice process that are supposed to be representing and upholding it. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. And we want justice all around. So I just had to bring this to you guys. This is all that I have. Anything else that I found? Oh, also, I saw this report from Chronicle Speaks. If you go to her channel, it says that she has some additional information about what the authorities did. They also did something else, and she has the information. They allegedly, because she was able to go to her channel and look on Chronicle Speaks, because she was able to actually speak to the to Geraldo, the one who, the investigative journalist who gave the excerpts to the North Carolina Herald. Okay, so she was able to speak with him on the phone, and he gave her some really even more disturbing behavior. Go to Chronicle Speaks, CHRONICLE Speaks. Okay? This story just continues to get worse and worse and worse. But we will not stop. All right, you guys. In Kiswahili, I say usiku mwema. Okay? And have a good night. All right. Peace, love, and light.